Warning, the games showcased in today's video could be triggering to some. The subjects and themes within these titles are absolutely crazy. I urge you, if you are easily triggered or offended by mental health topics, drug abuse, suicide, etc., please do not watch this video. I don't want it to negatively affect anyone. If you however choose to stay, we'll be taking a look at 4 horror games that are intensely gruesome. The amount of gore and insane visuals in these titles are so shocking, you might not be able to complete this video.
What's the matter? Somebody hit you? Here. Let me help you.
Andrew, you getting these alerts?
Kind of busy here.
Sometimes in horror, the developers take an outlandish step into the gray zone that some may claim goes too far. Stepping away from the typical topics and settings gives the developers the freedom to think outside the box. This can either be a good thing or a bad thing. Some people may not want to see the contents within the games, while others may be fascinated with the bizarre twists and turns this subgenre can have. 4 titles I have chosen to showcase this side of horror are as follows: Outlast Whistleblower DLC, Outlast 2, Resident Evil 7, and Martha is Dead. In this video, we will be taking a bit of a closer look into why these games are walking a thin line of possibly being too much.
Don't you look at us. I love him.
Jumping headfirst into the entry I almost couldn't complete was Outlast, which is developed by Red Barrels. Although the standalone game is amazing and terrifying in itself, the DLC is by far leaps and bounds more horrific than the latter. The Whistleblower DLC for Outlast intensifies the horror experience with its gruesomeness. Players control Wayland Park, navigating through the aftermath of the main game's events in Mount Massive Asylum. The expansion does not shy away from graphic violence, featuring brutal scenes like forced surgeries, dismemberment, and psychological torture. The atmosphere is thick with dread, with encounters involving deranged patients and the sadistic Murkoff employees. The gore is unmistakable, enhancing the survival horror aspect with visceral, stomach-churning visuals. It's a relentless plunge into the madness, making Whistleblower a disturbingly memorable extension of the original game's nightmarish setting.
Darling, I need you to try to bleed less. I know the fair sex often endure the same wounds with more suffering, but you really need to make an effort. No, I'm so sorry, darling. Love isn't for everybody.
We tried to get her back before the enemy cracks her womb. But they...
Wait, Lynn? Have you seen her?
They killed us. The lucky ones they killed. Get out. We have to leave. We have to go.
This developer is no stranger to gore. Red Barrels has a deranged take on horror. Let's plunge into this title known as Outlast 2. Not always does gruesome mean blood and gore. Sometimes it can be the things that happen to your character that are unwanted.
God doesn't love you. Not like I do.
following a trail of clues that started with the seemingly impossible murder of a pregnant woman known only as Jane Doe. The investigation has led you miles into the Arizona desert, to a darkness so deep that no one could shed light upon it, and a corruption so profound that going mad may be the only sane thing you do. Outlast 2 escalates the gruesomeness from its predecessor. Players follow Blake Langerman through a nightmarish landscape filled with scenes of torture, crucifixion, and ritualistic murder. The game doesn't hold back on visual brutality, showcasing mutilation and horrifying acts of violence, often with a disturbing religious twist. The atmosphere is oppressive, with graphic depictions of human suffering that push the boundaries of horror gaming. This sequel amplifies the gore and psychological distress, making for an experience that's both intense and unsettling in its depiction of human cruelty. When devs go to this extent of gore, there will always be positives and negatives. I'll briefly touch on some main points. The positives are graphic violence can heighten the sense of immersion, making the horror experience more visceral and real, thus enhancing player engagement. Such content can evoke strong emotional responses from fear to disgust, which can be central to the horror genre's appeal, making the game memorable. Horror games can use graphic elements as a form of storytelling or artistic expression, pushing the boundaries of what can be shown in video games to comment or critique real-world issues. Gruesome content can foster community dialogue, player theories, and discussions about the game's narrative and moral implications. On the other side of things, the negatives can be repeated exposure to graphic violence might desensitize players, reducing the impact of horror over time and potentially numbing them to real-life violence. Not all gamers are comfortable with extreme gore or violence, potentially limiting the game's audience and alienating those who find such content disturbing or offensive. An overemphasis on graphic horror can overshadow narrative or gameplay mechanics, leading to games that rely on shock value rather than depth or innovation. There's debate on whether such content promotes unhealthy or violent behavior. Though conclusive evidence is lacking, it remains a point of ethical discussion. Games with extreme content might face stricter ratings, limiting sales, or even bans in certain regions, affecting the game's commercial success and availability.
Where am I? What the hell?
Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's time for supper.
Who are all you people? Where's Mia?
Eat it. It's good.
Dumb some bitch wasn't no good if it hit him.
Lucas!
Get out the way, Marguerite. Hit boy's got to eat. He got to have his supper. Come here, boy. Let's do this. Come
Oh shit, he's not eating it, Jack! He's not eating it!
Get the hell up, Marguerite!
I made that for him!
Get the hell out of here!
You're a son of a bitch! Oh, I can't believe it, you son of a bitch! He's not eating it! He's not eating it!
Resident Evil Biohazard, developed by Capcom, marks a significant shift in the series, adopting a first-person perspective that amplifies its horror elements. The game is known for its intense, gruesome scenes that push the boundaries of horror in video games. Set in the dilapidated Baker estate, the environment itself is a character, filled with decay, blood, and the remnants of horrific acts. The mold-infested family, the Bakers, are grotesquely transformed, each member showcasing unique, horrific mutations. Jack Baker's relentless pursuit with his makeshift weapons, Margaret's insect-infested body, and the monstrous form of Lucas all contribute to the game's visceral horror. Additionally, the game includes disturbing themes such as cannibalism, mutilation, and psychological horror, particularly in the tape sequences where you control victims of the Bakers. The atmosphere combined with jump scares, detailed environments, and realistic sound design creates an overwhelming sense of dread and revulsion, making Resident Evil 7 a standout in horror gaming for its graphic portrayal of horror.
Sorry, buddy.
Everything is fine. Everything will be fine. I have to stay calm. Martha, February 26th, 1923.
Martha is Dead by LKA Games, a psychological horror game set in 1944 Italy during the height of World War II. You play as Julia, the twin sister of Martha, who has been found dead. The game is known for its graphic content, including depictions of self-harm, mutilation, and necrophilia. One particularly disturbing scene involves Julia cutting off Martha's face and wearing it. Another scene shows Julia cutting open Martha's stomach and removing a fetus. Martha is Dead also features a scene where a character shoots a bound woman off screen and then buries the dismembered corpse. The game contains strong language and references to SA. Martha is Dead is not for everyone by any means. It is a disturbing and violent game that explores themes of trauma, grief, and mental illness. But if you can stomach the theme and contents of the game, it is truly a beautiful world to explore, even though it has so much gore.
Julia.
Gruesome horror games often leave players in a state of lingering unease. After surviving through blood-soaked corridors and facing monstrous entities, the credits roll. But the atmosphere doesn't dissipate immediately. The psychological impact of such games can manifest in players feeling a residual fear or paranoia. Sounds in the dark, shadows in the peripheral vision, or even nightmares can echo the game's horrors. This lingering effect underscores the game's success in creating a memorable, albeit unsettling, experience, where the boundary between game and reality momentarily blurs, leaving players to contemplate the darkness they've journeyed through. Horror games' main focus is to always develop fear within you. The heart-pounding, palm-sweating engagements aren't easily forgotten in a really good horror game. Some games you build a connection to some degree with the characters. These games are terrifying and should be played with that in mind. If you suffer from certain health complications, it may not be a great idea to tread forward. Play at your own risk, and if you've made it this far, I appreciate and hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know down in the comments what your favorite horror games are and what I could do to improve these videos. Viewer feedback is an amazing way for me to make better content for everyone. With that being said, our next video will touch base on other horror games that will cause just as much dread and nightmare-inducing emotions. If that sounds up your alley, be sure to subscribe so you can catch us in future videos. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you love everything horror. Feel free to take a look at some of our other horror content here and here.